Hello and welcome. It's 10 a.m. on Thursday, the 25th of September. You're tuned in to our mid-morning newscast here on Arirang TV. It's great to have you with us. I'm Mark Broom. Let's take a look at what's making the headlines. Addressing the United Nations, President Park Geun-hye urges North Korea to sort out its abysmal human rights record and end its nuclear weapons program. She also vows that Korea will join global efforts to address the threat posed by foreign terrorist fighters. In a speech to the United Nations General Assembly, U.S. President Barack Obama urges the world to join together in the battle against the self-styled Islamic State. Plus, it was another golden day for South Korea at the Incheon Asian Games. The nation's fencers and shooters helped South Korea maintain its second place in the medal standings with 26 gold medals. But our top story this morning, President Park Geun-hye made her grand debut at the UN General Assembly on Wednesday local time. The South Korean president used the opportunity to outline her North Korea policies to the entire international community. Our Choi Yu-sun fired this report from New York.
While urging Pyongyang to lay down its nuclear arms and to start looking after its people's livelihood, President Park also asked the world leaders for their cooperation in first tearing down non-political barriers between the two Koreas. In particular, she talked about her earlier proposal to build a peace park in the peninsula's demilitarized zone.
UN 주도하에 남북한, 미국, 중국 등 전쟁 당사자들이 참여하여 국제적인 규범과 가치를 존중하며 공원을 만든다면 그것은 한반도 긴장 완화와 평화 통일의 시금석이 될 것입니다.
The president then brought attention to human rights abuses that are prevalent inside North Korea.
또한 국제사회는 탈북민의 인권 문제에도 관심을 기울여야 합니다. 탈북민들이 자유의사에 따라 목적지를 선택할 수 있도록 UN 해당 기구와 관련 국가들이 필요한 지원을 제공해야 합니다.
The Korean president also called past and present wartime sex abuse on women a serious rights issue thought to be an implicit reference to Japan's former enslavement of Korean women. She then promoted her envisioned trust-building process in Northeast Asia amid tensions over historical and territorial differences. Reflecting how far Korea has come since joining the UN 23 years ago, President Park also highlighted Seoul's contributions to various global issues such as sustainable development, climate change, and education. Choi Yu-sun, Arirang News, New York.
And speaking within the last few hours or so, in another speech, President Park also stated that the fight against Islamic State militants is not just a regional problem based in the Middle East, but an international one that requires a united front against acts of all kinds of terrorism. Addressing world leaders at the UN, she stated that the international community can no longer stand idly by while the extremists make indiscriminate threats and commit horrific crimes against innocent men, women and children. The president said Korea would stick to its dutiful role to promote the peace and security of the international community. She said Seoul would do this by upholding the rule of law and making efforts to cut off the source of capital that are used by terrorist organizations. After her speech, the UN Security Council unanimously approved Resolution 2178. This is a historic resolution aimed at stopping the flow of foreign extremists to battlefields around the world. Now, let's connect to our news centre to take a look at some of the other developments unfolding at a very hectic 69th UN General Assembly in New York with our Eunice Kim. Now, Eunice, US President Barack Obama urged world leaders to join efforts in fighting the terrorists known around the world now as Islamic State.
That's right, Mark. And in response, members of the UN Security Council unanimously approved that resolution you mentioned that would legally bind all member countries to counter terrorism measures. Our Hwang Jie has the details.
Facing the mounting threat from terrorist groups, U.S. President Barack Obama made it clear at the United Nations General Assembly on Wednesday that the U.S. will confront and dismantle Islamic terrorists. He urged nations to reject the cancer of violent extremism.
The only language understood by killers like this is the language of force. So the United States of America will work with a broad coalition to dismantle this network of death.
He went on asking the world to join the effort.
And already over 40 nations have offered to join this coalition. Today I ask the world to join in this effort.
Following the UN meeting, the Security Council unanimously approved a resolution that calls on countries to adopt laws stating that joining a militant group like the Islamic State is a serious crime for their citizens. Over in Syria, U.S. planes hit Islamic State positions for a second day on Wednesday. But the strikes did not stop the terrorist group's advance. It rather intensified their attack near the Turkish border in northern Syria, where 140,000 civilians have fled in recent days. Hwang Ji-hye, Arirang News.
Also at the United Nations, a visibly upset French President François Hollande condemned the killing of a French national, Hervé Godel, at the hands of an extremist group in Algeria. The Jund al-Khilafa, or Soldiers of the Caliphate, pledges allegiance to the Islamic State group. It released a video online showing the decapitation of the 55-year-old French tourist who was abducted on Sunday in Algeria while on a mountaineering trip. The group said the beheading was revenge for France's continued airstrikes in Iraq despite its demands to halt them with the man's life in their hands. France was the first country to join the U.S. campaign against Islamic State militants. President Hollande vowed to press on in its fight against terrorists everywhere while remembering Godel as a man full of enthusiasm and a lover of the mountains. Meanwhile, beyond the halls of the United Nations, U.S. and its Arab partners were pounding on Islamic State-held oil installations in East Syria, marking the third coalition assault in the state. Our Kim Young-gil shows us the weapons that the U.S. is using to attack the extremist group, which makes up some of the world's most sophisticated military hardware.
Tomahawk cruise missiles launched by the U.S. Navy from the Persian Gulf and the Red Sea signaled the start of airstrikes in Syria. They are typically used to hit large targets, delivering a bomb explosion after it lands, with little destruction to surrounding structures.
In the first wave of strikes, the USS Arleigh Burke in the Red Sea and the USS Philippine Sea in the northern Arabian Gulf launched more than 40 Tomahawk cruise missiles in eastern and northern Syria.
The F-22 Raptor, Pentagon's most advanced stealth fighter plane, made its combat debut in the sensitive Syria mission. The air combat version of a luxury vehicle, the jet carries air-to-ground missiles and guides bombs capable of precision hits from miles away. F-18 Super Hornet fighter jets, which were used in the Iraqi war, and Predator drones were also part of the U.S. airstrikes.
These strikes were taken as part of the President's comprehensive strategy to degrade and ultimately destroy ISIL and to protect the United States and its partners.
The onslaught of U.S. warplanes against Islamic State strongholds and facilities clearly displays the American military's might in its campaign to bring down the network of enemy forces. Kim Young-gil, Arirang News.
Get connected to Korea and the world. Join us every weekday for the latest developments out of Korea, Asia, and beyond. On air, on your mobile, and online, we lead the way every day. Arirang News.
To try and resolve the crisis in Ukraine, the European Union also offers $15 billion. This year's second session of the North Korean Parliament is taking place today, and observers are keeping a close eye on what agendas will be put forth. Potential points of interest include a change in the political power structure in the North, including the appointment of Hwang Byung-seo as the Chief of Military Politics. We should also see if Park Bong-joo stays on as Prime Minister. Observers are also waiting to see if General Che Ryong-hae is granted more power after he was appointed as vice chairman of the extremely powerful National Defense Commission after the execution of the North Korean leader's uncle, Jang Song-taek. New economic reforms could also be unveiled. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, who is reportedly suffering from a leg injury and poor health generally, may make an appearance. If he does, it'll be the first time he's been seen in public in around 3 weeks. South Korea will buy 40 F-35A fighter jets from the US defense firm Lockheed Martin for around $7 billion. Under the agreed purchase deal, Lockheed Martin will transfer the relevant technologies in 17 sectors to be used for South Korea's next-generation fighter jet projects. The purchase is aimed at replacing South Korea's aging warplanes and to hopefully help the country cope with North Korea's unpredictable military threats. According to South Korea's Defense Acquisition Program Administration, the new fighter jets will be delivered to South Korea between 2018 and 2025. The F-35A is the Pentagon's most expensive aircraft program ever, and other international buyers include Britain, Israel, Italy, Australia, Canada, Turkey, and Japan. Now, the clock is ticking and time is fast approaching because in around 24 hours' time, Koreans will be able to get their hands on Samsung's latest phablet, the Galaxy Note 4. Samsung has extremely high hopes for this device. It has super high techs and a nice new design, but will it be enough to turn the company's fortunes around? Kwon So-ah reports.
Samsung boasts an even better version of the S Pen stylus for its latest phablet Galaxy Note 4. And it's kept a 5.7-inch screen size, which is larger than the 5.5 inches on Apple's new iPhone 6 Plus. Whether they'll be enough to win the fight against Apple's larger-sized iPhones remains a question.
It won't be easy to overcome the difficulties for the time being. The release of one product is not going to help Samsung turn around in the short term.
And the market's reaction has resonated similar questions. Around $60 billion have been wiped off the market value of Samsung Electronics since January last year. Its market capitalization is at the lowest level since July 2012. Meanwhile, its arch-rival Apple is enjoying the record-breaking 10 million sales of its new iPhone 6 and iPhone 6 Plus models, which was reached just 3 days into its release.
Well, the speculation out there is that Apple's preparing to sell between 770 and 80 million iPhones this holiday season, and this would be up from 50 to 60 million in the prior holiday season.
Chinese players like Xiaomi have also emerged as a growing threat. The company sold more smartphones in China than Samsung in the second quarter of the year. This could explain Samsung's decision to release its latest phablet in China before any other overseas market, marking a first for the Korean tech giant. Kwon So-ah, Arirang News.
Now, the Korean government is looking to give domestic manufacturers a few more reasons to bring their overseas plants back home. The Trade Ministry says it's looking to change the law on Korea's free trade zones that allow easier access to returning companies. There are currently 13 designated free trade zones, and they provide firms with various benefits, including tax breaks. About 60 local companies have reportedly agreed to bring their facilities back home over the last couple of years, while a dozen others are committed to doing the same over the next 4 years. Now, in a deal that was highly beneficial and remains highly beneficial to both sides, Korea and China agreed earlier this year to expand their cooperation in joint movie production. And what is so exciting about this deal is that approved films can officially be classified as local films in both countries, and that means that Korean movies can broaden their appeal in the world's most populous country of over 1.3 billion people. Park Ji-won reports.
A Wedding Invitation is a film co-produced by Korea and China, released last year. This romantic comedy made a huge splash in China, earning some $36 million, 10 times more than the film's production cost. The film's Korean director Oh Gi-hwan says he changed the film's scenario many times to make it appeal to Chinese viewers.
At first, I tried to remake my previous film, A Gift, but then I realized that the Chinese viewers didn't quite get some parts of the original script due to cultural differences. So I've rewritten almost everything with 3 Chinese scenario writers.
He says it's not easy to strike the right balance between both Korean and Chinese elements in one film, but says tapping into China's fast-growing market is certainly a risk worth taking.
There are forecasts that by 2017, the Chinese film market will be bigger than Hollywood. So it's a challenge that is worth trying.
China raked in some $3.6 billion in box office revenue last year, making it the world's second largest market, growing around 30% annually. And over the next decade, the gap between the Korean and Chinese movie markets will only grow larger. The two countries signed a groundbreaking film co-production pact in July that opened a door of opportunities for Korean filmmakers. But before then, it was difficult to break the wall of China's strict film import quota system.
Due to the film import quota, only about 70 foreign films got the chance to release in China, and half of those spots were taken by Hollywood films. That's why this co-production pact is important, because it helps Korean Chinese co-productions be recognized as homegrown films.
Another encouraging development for film creators from both countries is a joint investment fund worth nearly $200 million, which will be set up next year for co-production projects.
Both countries share a common goal of stimulating their content's markets through the active exchange facilitated by the joint fund.
The joint film projects are shaping up to be a win-win strategy, allowing seasoned Korean filmmakers to test their creations in a bigger market, while China can gain from Korea's production experience and expertise. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
And a good Thursday morning to you all as we continue on with our 2014 Incheon Asian Games coverage. Now on Wednesday, South Korea added several more gold medals, but 3 of those came from shooting events and all against their rival China. First off, over in the women's 50-meter rifle pro, the South Korean squad scored a combined 1,855.5 points for the gold medal, beating China by just 1.4 points. Then shortly after that, the men's 25-meter rapid-fire pistol team won the gold medal after beating China by a single point. And with that, Kim Jung-hong, who's part of the men's 25-meter rapid-fire pistol team, added another gold when he won the individual event. Now, many Korean fans in the nation have high hopes for Son Yeon-jae in the rhythmic gymnastics event, and now even more after she won Korea's first ever medal during the 2014 World Rhythmic Gymnastics Championships in Turkey. Now, Son Yeon-jae, who won bronze medal in the hoop event after scoring 17.966 on Tuesday, returns to Korea after the World Championship and has to quickly prepare for the Asian Games. With the preliminary round starting on October 1st, there's no rest for the rhythmic gymnast as she hopes to win Korea's first ever gold in the Asian Games. And later tonight, we'll be treated to one of the bigger rivalries in the Incheon Asian Games as South Korea's Yang Hak-sun is set to face off against North Korea's Lee Se-kwang over in the men's vault event. Now, the two artistic gymnasts, who are regarded as two of the best in the world, will square off in the men's vault finals later tonight as Yang Hak-sun is expected to showcase his Yang 2 technique against Lee Se-kwang's very own technique as well. And despite Yang not being 100% due to an injury, fans can expect quite a battle between the two. And now shifting over to baseball, where the South Korean national team faced off against the Chinese Taipei on Wednesday night in what could be the preview of the championship game on Sunday.
With the Kia Tigers' Yang Hyun-jong taking the mound, he gets some early run support when the South Korean national team scores 7 runs in the first inning, including Nexon Heroes Kang Jung-ho's 3-run home run and Doosan Bears' Oh Jae-won adding a 2-run shot as well. Korea's pitching continues to shut out their opponents as Korea cruises past Chinese Taipei 10-0 as the game is called after 8 innings. And now finishing things off, South Korea added a number of gold medals on Wednesday, including Kim Ye-ji, who won Korea's second ever gold medal in rowing after finishing first in the women's single sculls event, as well as the men's saber and women's foil teams who swept the gold as well. Meanwhile, North Korea added a non-weightlifting gold when Hong Eun-jung won the women's vault gold. So with that said, let's now take a look at how the medal standings look after 6 days of the Incheon Asian Games. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Good morning. Well, rain we had yesterday was actually a welcome rain to some of the southern provinces. Red tides were swept away by strong winds and high tides, and rain has relieved the drought for some of the regions. So it was definitely a good rain. And for today, we'll have a beautiful autumn weather. But as we can see, some of the light layers of clouds are hovering up the most of the peninsula. But as the day goes on, many regions will be enjoying mostly to partly sunny skies and warmer daytime highs. So let's take a closer look at today's temperatures. Now, daytime high in Seoul, Daegu, Gwangju should all make it to 27, while Busan will peak at 26 this afternoon. Now, for other regions, it looks like Jeju Island and Daejeon should see highs of 25 and 26 respectively. Dokdo peaks at 21, while Mount Kumgang tops out at 13. Now, weather in Incheon, the host city of Asian Games, is shaping up to be a pleasant day as well, with highs peaking to 25 degrees Celsius. And it seems like this delightful autumn weather will continue through the week. But as we can see, temperature difference between lows and highs will continue to be wide. So please dress accordingly and take good care of yourself. Now, that's all for Korea, and here's international weather for viewers around the world.
Well, that's going to do it for us, for now at least. Have a great day and thanks ever so much for watching. I'm Mark Broom and I'll be back with Ojin Ju at noon Korea time. Until then, goodbye.